Hello friends, John Perry here. Today I want to talk about the vaccine debate. I'm not going to be talking about whether or not we should get vaccines. I just want to talk about the debate itself. And while I'm talking about this, I'm going to show you some footage of a beaver and a muskrat that I filmed hanging out together when I was paddleboarding down the creek the other day. So enjoy. As many of you know, I am fully vaccinated, and I did not take the decision to get vaccinated lightly. I looked at the research that was happening as the vaccines were being tested. I carefully watched as members of the public started getting them en masse. I carefully weighed the pros and cons, and then I decided, according to the information that I have right now, the best thing that I can do for myself and for my community is that I can get vaccinated. Like many other people who have decided to get vaccinated, I have been frustrated with people who are intensely against vaccination. Conversations that I've had with people have been difficult. For the most part, they haven't been successful. And in some cases, I was letting that frustration really kind of sour relationships that I had with people. And I just want to say that this is not what we should be doing. If we keep letting division grow between people during this pandemic, the result is going to be catastrophic. I mean, aside from the fact that you're going to lose relationships that you care about, this could very easily result in violence. I mean, real violence on a large scale. None of us want that. Now, obviously, I understand that this particular issue, this issue of vaccines, many people do believe that this issue is a life and death issue. So it's something that a lot of people are willing to fight about and are willing to risk their relationships over. People who are pro-vaccine believe that by not getting a vaccine, you are risking people's lives. And people who are anti-vaccine believe that the vaccine itself is risking people's lives. So it might seem like this is something worth actually fighting about, but the hateful accusations that I'm seeing spewed out online, they are not helpful. Whether you are pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine, if during a conversation with someone of the opposite opinion, you are starting to feel anger and hatred for that person, stop. Just stop the conversation. There is no point in continuing. It's not going to help. Some people might hear what I'm saying and they'll think that, oh, this guy's being weak. He's being a little pansy. It's time to stand up and fight. I'm not saying that we shouldn't argue with people because it's hard. I'm saying we shouldn't argue hatefully because it's pointless. It doesn't work. It's important to talk about the vaccine. It's important to answer people's questions about the vaccine. It's not useful to let anger creep into this conversation. The truth about this vaccine, the truth about this pandemic in general, is that certainty is not on the menu. We cannot be 100% sure about anything. The best we can do is look at the available data, judge whether or not we think that data is trustworthy, and judge according to that data, that limited data, what we think is most likely the best pathway forward. And there's going to be disagreement on how we should behave. Do not let it ruin your relationships. If you get on Twitter and you do a search for anti-vax, you will see a bunch of people who are pro-vaccine that are calling everyone else idiots. They're saying that the people who are not getting the vaccine are doing it because they are cowardly, they are selfish, they don't care about anyone except for themselves. I myself said some things on social media that I wish I hadn't. I'm sure that within the anti-vaccine movement there are people who are selfish and cowardly, but I don't think that represents the majority. Right now in America, things are very divided politically. People who are on the left tend to be pro-vaccine. People who are on the right, especially the far right, tend to be anti-vaccine. I lived in Tennessee for several years, and Tennessee leans pretty far to the right. Interestingly, there's also a group of people that are on, I don't know if you'd call it the far left, but it's like I call them the yoga liberals, are also very much anti-vaccine. And, I've got family members that I would say fall more into that category that are anti-vaccine as well. And I find this kind of interesting that people on the far right and people on the yoga left, they found some common ground, which is adorable, actually. But the individuals that I know well from both of these groups of people, they are not cowards. And they are not doing this because they hate other people. They're not doing it because they're selfish. My anti-vax friends in Tennessee are the same types of people who will stop at the side of the road and help you change your tire no matter what your race or age or gender is. They're just going to help you. They're the types of people who will jump into a river and put their life at risk if they see that someone is struggling. Like, these people they care about family and community, and they're good people. My friends and family on the yoga left, it's the same story. These people are very caring. And they're brave in their own way. I don't know that they're necessarily the type of people who would fight for their country like the people on the far right are, but they're the types of people who will dramatically change their own lifestyle because they see that they're hurting someone by their actions. These are the types of people that they are. The issue here is that humans live inside of stories. We live inside of stories. And the people who are anti-vaccine have a different story than the people who are pro-vaccine. They trust different sources to get their information, and they distrust certain sources. We as a nation, we pay the CDC with our tax money. We pay them to analyze drugs like these vaccines and tell us whether or not they're safe. Well, people in these two groups, they don't trust the CDC. And if you ask them, they'll give you their reasons for why they don't trust the CDC. And I think we just need to have a little bit more patience with each other, a little bit more empathy with each other, because all of us are dealing with this pandemic for the first time. We are new to this. We have not done this before. I mean, humans have dealt with this before, but I haven't dealt with this before. You probably haven't dealt with this before. This is extremely difficult. Be patient. If you're starting to feel yourself hate someone that you used to care about, stop talking about the vaccine with them. Those debates aren't helping anything. In fact, people seem to be digging in deeper because of the hateful interaction. Things are going to play out how they play out. Hating your friends, hating your neighbors, hating strangers you met on the internet is not going to help anything. Anyway, all that was just clickbait. What I'm really here to talk to you about is how to tell the difference between a muskrat and a beaver. Obviously, the easiest way is the tail. Beavers have flat tails. They're flat horizontally, and they're big. They swim by moving them up and down in the water, kind of like a whale moves its tail. And the muskrat has a tail that's long and skinny and a little bit flattened vertically, and it swims by moving its tail left to right, sort of like a lizard when it runs. Can you tell which animal this one is? Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Oh, one more thing I want to point out. These two animals, they were actually hanging out together this whole time. They were probably about 20 feet away from each other. Some people speculate that they just help each other keep an eye out on bad guys. They eat different things, so there's not really much competition. Muskrats eat smaller green plants, grasses, and so on. Beavers might do that a little bit, but mostly they feed on the sugary layer underneath bark of trees, various different types of trees. So not a whole lot of competition between the two. They'll even nest together. Muskrats will hang out in beaver dens during the winter. At least these two are getting along during COVID, despite their interspecies differences. I'm sure we can do the same. If you found this video helpful, or if you just liked the beaver and the muskrat, share this with your friends. Share it on Twitter, on Facebook, on every place. Thanks.